Hi, how you doing? It's going to be a warm but windy day today outside, and so getting an early start and trying to get the tasks done. One of the things that I want to get done now that the greenhouse is all but empty is pot up some greenhouse peppers that I want to try growing inside the greenhouse for the summer to compare to how they do compared to the ones that are going to be growing outside. A little later, we're going to go over to the vegetable garden and we're going to take a look at drip watering and set up a new drip watering in one of the beds. My name is Sharon. I garden on a large yard in a small town in east central Saskatchewan, Zone 3. Welcome to my Sask Garden. So what I have are two peppers actually I have three, of the red night variety, three of the Olympus variety, and these two are the hot flaming flare variety. And so I'm going to put two in each container, and the containers I'm going to use are these grow bags. And I can't remember how many gallon they are. I feel like they're 7 gallon. And I got these off Amazon. I can put the link as a courtesy if you like. I'm pretty happy with them. They are a thicker fabric than some of the other ones that I have, and I also liked the depth of these. So they're pretty much square instead of round, and I think they're as deep as they are wide, which I thought was pretty good. They also have these handles in case you need to move them around. So I've got three set up right now, and if I have enough of my soil mix left over, I'll do a fourth with one of each of the Olympus as well as the red night variety. And then the rest of them are outside on the cart getting hardened off, and they're going to go into the vegetable garden hopefully sometime next week. Just 2 nights ago, I was still heating all of the peppers in the greenhouse for 2 nights in a row when we had lows of 3.5, I think it got to. And I had everything else, or a lot of stuff, covered in the garden. So I was happy that these were still not planted out. About 2 weeks ago or so, I repotted them into larger containers just to allow them to stay in the greenhouse longer. They were potted into solo cups. And this is my poor Esterina tomato that has nowhere to go. She has no home, and I'm not sure entirely what I'm going to do with her. I'm going to try and find a spot in the garden somewhere. But she needs a home. So we're just going to we're just going to mix up the potting soil and the mix that I have, and I'll just show you what I have going on in the wheelbarrow. So what I did was I started off with about a container full of my compost. Not sure, well, it's a half a wheelbarrow full, however that much is. It's going to be probably 7 to 10 gallons, I think. In here I think these are 2 gallon containers, and this is coconut coir. So I like adding that to a mix if I have it. And in here I have perlite, just to lighten things up. I'm just going to mix that real quick just so the perlite doesn't all blow away. And then I have a bag of potting soil. This one is a Co-op Gold potting soil. And I did lift it earlier, so I think I'm going to be okay to lift it again. And I'm going to add a full bag into that mix. So that's my potting or my compost that has been sifted, coconut coir, perlite, and then the potting soil. And then I'm just going to give it a good stir. Okay, so I have my wheelbarrow mix of components, all the stuff that I want to use. I have that all mixed up. and the bags are empty. Now you don't need to put anything on the bottom for drainage. That's the nice thing about these fabric grow bags, is it lets in air all the way around and it drains freely at the bottom. Also, I suspect that these plants will root all the way to the bottom. I actually contemplated putting 3 in each grow bag, but I kind of think that might be too much. So I'm just going to go ahead with 2 and see how that does. I don't really want to go to just 1 in each grow bag. I think that would be an awful lot. I don't know. Maybe I'd have massive peppers, but I think I'm going to go with 2. So I'm just going to start off by filling the bottom of that grow bag with about half of the soil, just enough for this to sit, and then I can fill in around that after that. So it goes to about halfway. It gets pretty toasty here in the greenhouse. A couple things help it from overheating, and 2 of the things are, we bought these solar fans. And so one is an exhaust fan just at the back of the greenhouse. Now that greenhouse, or that direction, is northwest, and so we actually get breeze coming through there as well, but at the same time it is exhausting the hot air from the top and pulling in the cool air from this side. And we originally started off with this 2-fan unit, which is a little small. The 4-1 works excellent. Now, if the sun goes behind a cloud, they just shut down. They don't store energy at all. They simply work by, when the sun is out and shining, then the solar works, and it makes the fan run. All right, so far not too heavy. Of course, it's not wet. I think a little bit more, yes. So that's a lot of soil mix. I don't know, they kind of poke out and sort of go roundish. Maybe one could do 3. I'm not sure. I think I could. I'm going to get a 3rd. Of course, these at the moment are smaller root balls. And so the square pots, I'm not sure. I might be able to. I would like to be able to do 3, to be honest. Oh, I almost forgot. Since, although there is compost in here, my compost, but everything else is basically a soilless mix. I was going to add in some of the H-Start probiotic soil enhancer. And I'm just going to take a small handful, that's about a tablespoon, and sort of at the planting, at the root surface is where I'm going to put it, or at the root base at the bottom. Another one of them. And I will start very nice roots going on these plants. That's got to be 10 gallons of 10-gallon bags. That's a lot of soil. Okay, that's great. And I'm not going to plant them any deeper than they were in the pot. Now, how long ago was it now? 3 weeks or like that since I pinched the plants, and I pinched down here. Right down here is where I pinched. And then what that did was spurred on all of this growth, and I pinched all of the plants. Once they had about maybe 4 sets of true leaves, then I pinched. And that made them so bushy. Now, if you just had small transplants now, it would not be the time. I think that, you know, it takes like probably about 3 or so weeks for them to push that growth after pinching. So now would not be the time, but you could certainly think about that next year if you have transplants and need, and especially if they're growing quite tall, they can be pinched. So I think I really just need a little bit more in here, and then we are good to go, I think. I didn't go right to the top of the bag. I'm not sure how big these are going to grow, to be honest. So I might not have enough. At some point I may have to set up something in the center for them to grow, but we'll see how that goes. All right. So now all they need is a watering. I think some people put these grow bags on trays, and I'm not sure of the purpose of that, whether it's to bottom water or because they don't want water leaking out. I'm okay with water leaking out. I have water in here all the time anyway, so getting hot toes. And then as we go on through the season and these grow, I have been fertilizing with 24-8-16, but I'm going to change that now to 15-30-15, and that's Miracle Grow. So I like Miracle Grow fertilizer. It has all of the trace minerals and nutrients that plants need. I'm pretty happy with that. You know, I still have probably, say, 3 inches of space for the top. That's okay. I think that's fine. I think that's a lot of soil for 3 plants. So I'll just finish off the other 2. I'm going to do 3 plants of each of those as well, since it kind of spreads out. I think 3 will be fine. So these, I've got the pots halfway filled. And these are the Red Knight. And I've shown this before, but you know, you don't want to pull up hard on the pot without it releasing from the bottom. And so you just, the best way to do that is grab the stem low down and pinch that and kind of work that a bit. Pull up a little. If you still feel a bit of resistance, keep doing that until it comes up fairly easy. And you don't want to rip those roots as you get it out. Sometimes those roots will grow into holes at the bottom or something like that. There we go. So you can see how those roots at the bottom were kind of making their way somewhere else, and as I pulled the pot up, then it pulled it down a bit. So that's those. And these are the Olympus. These are my two favorite varieties of bell peppers. They are really, really great for cold zones, I find. I've grown these for a number of years, and they produce nice, big, juicy walled, heavy peppers. And they're sweet. They're really good. I'm really happy with them. So I'm very curious to see. I've been curious for a while now, but this is the first time me trying them in the greenhouse. But I am curious to see, wow, look at the roots on that one. That has not been in these 1-gallon containers for that long either. Oh, you know what I forgot to do here was put in some H-start. Just remembered. To work that in just a little first. And here's number 3. Okay, that's done. I've got 3 of the Flaming Flare, the hot peppers. They're an Anaheim, I think it's Anaheim hot pepper. They're really not, super hot, but they're plenty hot for me and for what we want to do with them. And then these are the Red Knight, 3 of them. And then these are the 3 Olympus. I mean, these are, look at the size of those leaves. These are, you can already tell the difference between the varieties, although I have found this variety to produce equally as good peppers, but these I'm super impressed with this year. Just huge, huge leaves. Here's one that has broken off the size of my hand. I mean, I don't have big hands, but even still, that's a nice size for nice size pepper leaf, I think. So that's going to be the experiment. I still have out hardening off. I have, I think, 5 or 6 each. So they're hardening off. I think we're still supposed to get a few nights of coolish weather, rain and wind is supposed to be coming for the next couple days, and the weather's supposed to get the nights again kind of coolish, so they will go back into the greenhouse for the night, and I haven't unplugged the heater yet, so if it needs to go on, it'll go on. So now we're going to go over to the back and set up that one drip watering system and explain a few things that we have done with the drip and how it's some's working, some's not. All right, we'll see you back there. Okay, so this is the bed that we're having the trouble with, the soaker hose that I had set up. I thought that it was working pretty good, but it's really not. Not when I'm going to show you what this soaker hose should be looking like in a few minutes. And so we're going to take this off and replace it. What this is also Rainbird. It's 1/4-inch soaker hose, and it attaches with all these little fittings. It attaches to a 1/2-inch header line, and these just run the distance. They should weep a whole lot more. They're still working somewhat. Now this is year 2 for these. I was using these last year, I think, on the carrots and something else, tomatoes maybe. And it worked very well last year, but it's just obvious that it's not working at all this year. Maybe about 30% of what it should be. So we're going to take it off and we're going to replace it with some other components that we have in our little arsenal. Now, what we're doing here is we're using up what we have, because going forward, I won't be buying any of these components. I'm just going to go with the Rainbird tubing. It's got the pressure compensating emitters that drip water every 6 inches, and that's what we're going to invest in going forward. But for today, we're going to change this to something called Spectrum Spikes, and I'm going to show you that in a second. I'm just going to unhook this. We have the Quick Connect fittings on every bed that has drip set up. And so I'm just going to unhook this. And then I'm going to just hook it up on the cabbage bed here, just so you can see, because I have a couple different kinds of emitters on this bed. And what I've done here is I have just reused, it was all set up and hooked up, but I was using it in the rock garden last year for watering. It didn't work that well after the plants got all grown up, and which is going to be probably an issue here as well once the cabbage and broccoli gets bigger. But for right now, it works quite well. So these right here, these are called shrubblers, and you can adjust them to a very low kind of emitting to almost nothing, to turning it off completely. Now, if you undo it entirely, it's going to shoot up. And sometimes if you have it right on the, right on the edge of coming off, and you turn the water on, it'll blow them off. So you do have to be careful about that. The other thing about these shrubblers is that they go in a series. They're called inline, and so they have water coming in, and then it shoots out, and then it can go out, the water can continue on, and it can be set up. The more you put on that line, it's going to lower your pressure as you go along, so that at the end might be very little. This is probably a good example where at the end there isn't much happening, and that one is turned up. That one is almost at the maximum, but that's all the water that's coming out. This one is called a Spectrum Spike. So it's like a very low kind of a sprinkler type of system. And this as well can be turned up or down. And it works good. It works fine. You maybe would lose a little bit more to evaporation on a windy day, but that's what we're going to use. I have a bag of these Spectrum Spikes. I think I have 2, 4, 6, 7 of them, and so that's what we're going to set up on the bed over there. And like I said, that is to use up the components that we have. So this is the tubing with those pressure compensating emitters, and they're every 6 inches. You can cut it anywhere, and then you would have to use, there are plugs that are available that you put at the end of everything, at the end of all your runs. So I don't know if you can see, there's a hole on either side of the tube. That's the pressure compensating emitter, is this piece right in there. And so that's all we have left of this one. We'll be ordering more. We ordered it from Amazon, and a 50-foot roll runs you about $40. And this is the 1/4-inch soaker hose. We have a bit left, and it doesn't work for us. As I said, our water is hard, and after a year, it seems that membrane gets clogged up and it just won't weep. The new stuff works great, but it's only going to work for us for a season, and then we'll probably toss it. We did try soaking it in vinegar to see if that would help, you know, release all of the buildup, but that didn't work at all. So that's the reason. I mean, when it works excellent, but that's the reason why we're going to have to move on to something else. It's difficult to see, but it is weeping. The whole thing is weeping, not just a little, you know, dribs and drabs here and there. The whole thing is completely wet almost instantly and letting out quite a bit of water. So I have one line set up on each row of the potatoes, kind of right at the edge or right at the base of the potato plant. And I ran it for a while yesterday, and the entire bed is soaked. Just the one line, or what are they, about a foot apart, I'd say. And the entire bed is soaked, even in the middle of the lines. It's very well watered. Maybe 2 hours I left it on. I'm not sure if it was that long. And yeah, so that works really good. It's just that I don't want to, you know, we don't want to have to replace that tubing every year. That's the problem, is it just doesn't last. So now we're going to remove that old tubing from that bed. I'm hoping that we can still use the 1/2-inch header and just change out the tubing to the 1/4-inch tubes. And then from those tubes, we attach the emitters. So we got it set up. Now, they're not the easiest thing to set up. Maybe if you just had 4 lines and nothing else, that wouldn't be too bad. And all with the same, you know, the same width and the same length that you need to run. But all these different components, you have to think about it for a while, how much the spread is going to be, what the plants are going to look like when they grow up, and what's going to stop the water flow or the water from the emitters from providing the moisture. Like as I said, we're using this because this is what we have at the moment. And so here we landed up with using up the rest of the soaker hose, the 1/4-inch soaker hose. And we had enough for 2 lines to do the lettuce. And then these are the spectrum spikes. And as you can see, not great on a windy day still. The wind still moves this, whereas it will not move the water coming out of the soaker hose. So again, this is all, first of all, there's a 1/2-inch header line. And then each of these spectrum spikes, each of the emitters, it's on its own 1/4-inch feeder hose. It's just poly tubing. And then I tried to space them out so that we get good coverage over the bed. So the other thing is that on this side of the bed, I've planted cucamelon. And on the other side, on the other end, it's 2 cucumber. And I don't like the leaves to get wet for watering. So I've tried to arrange the watering emitters so that they don't hit over here. These I prefer to hand water. And getting your cucumber leaves wet all the time can promote powdery mildew and fungus and things of that nature. So it's best to water cucumber just from the bottom. Soaker hose would work in this case. Although I still prefer to hand water simply because I prefer to water these with warm water or from the rain barrel. So that's all. You know, for a couple little jobs, it feels like it took almost all day. But anyways, the jobs are done now. Thanks very much for hanging out today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful in some way. We did not record the actual setting up, and that's probably a good thing because it really is a bit of a pain. I think
I think Andy is mouthing to me that it almost ended up in divorce, but it's one of those things, you know. So it is not an easy setup. You have to think it through. And there's, you know, on Lee Valley Tools, they have information on how to set up different systems, and it's just information. I'm not saying go to Lee Valley Tools and buy that, but they have information on how to set these kinds of things up depending on what kind of a bed you have. Our beds are all 4 feet by 12 feet, and they're rectangular. Some people have square, some people have smaller. It's a whole thing. You can put them on timers so that they automatically water while you're not around. You know, there's just a whole host of things you can do. This is going to work for us for what I like. You know, because I do like to hand water some, and I do like to soak some, and some goes under the mulch, some doesn't. It's really, there's no one answer for everything. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So, again, thanks for hanging out today, and I hope you found it helpful in some way. If you did, give me a thumbs up, tell your friends, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Thanks again. See you.